circle. The drive.
Magnificent goal! Can you believe what we just saw?
Welcome to Hockey Night Insider, brought to you by The Answer's Yes. I'm Lew Stowers along with Parker Kalmen, and boy, do we have a show coming up for you right now, don't we, Parker?
Absolutely. I am so excited to talk with our guests who have a whole lot to do with pro beach hockey. And our first guest creating this documentary, which I'm really anticipating to come out here within the future, all about pro beach hockey.
That's right. It's a PBH documentary by Jake Cimperman, and then he'll be followed by Rob Laurie, who is an all-star with the Anaheim Bullfrogs and also was an all-star in the pro beach hockey ranks. And then Chris Nelson. Boy, he's an actor, still in the entertainment business as well. And what a guy he is. And Parker, this documentary by Jake is just going to be something, I think.
Absolutely. And I'm really excited. I might be a little biased here, but to talk to Rob, it's just going to be a treat talking with another goaltender in the roller hockey scene. I'm sure he's just got absolute amazing stories to tell us and a whole lot of experience goaltending for the RHI and some pro beach hockey. So it's going to be great talking to all three of them.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got some story about his touch with greatness in the NHL as well. So we're going to talk to Robbie. And then Chris Nelson, boy, he's just a flashy guy on the court and on the ice. And everybody loved Nelly.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about Chris. Excited to talk with him as well. I know he has a lot to do. I think he's in this pro beach hockey documentary as well. So it's going to be great to hear both from the director's side and someone that was is going to be featured in it too. So it's just going to be an awesome episode.
Oh, absolutely. And Nelly was right there in the parking lots of Santa Monica Beach. And so he was right there at the very beginnings. And then when it was shifted over as a television event in Huntington Beach, he was definitely one of the stars of pro beach hockey. And also, Parker, where you said you were a goalie there, you're excited to talk to Robbie. You've got something going on, a huge tournament there with the Wish Cup coming up.
Yes, that's right. I will be, normally I play with my Terrapin squad. You guys can get our new t-shirts at terrapinshockey.com if you wanted to buy those, but I will not be playing with our Terrapin squad.
Terrapinshockey.com?
Terrapinshockey.com, that is correct. And I will actually be playing with some good friends from Kyle, Texas, the La Beta Chupacabra. I've had good relations with them the past couple years. We beat them in overtime last March finals. But now, if you can't beat them, recruit them. So they recruited me. I'll be playing over with the La Beta Chupacabra at the Wish Cup this year, which is, if you don't know, it's sponsored by the Make-A-Wish Foundation. They do a whole lot of good work for charity for the Wish Cup. A lot of popular influencers in the roller hockey and ice hockey scene are going to be there, playing at the All-Star Game. A friend of the podcast, Eton Chivera, will be at the All-Star Game. So it's just going to be an absolute treat to be over there in Nashville for the Wish Cup.
Wow, that's great. Nashville's a great place, and what a charity, a fundraise. Is it? I'm sure is it a fundraising event? Do some of the Wish kids get to come out and play with you guys? You have camps. What goes on?
Yeah, so actually the La Beta Chupacabra, why they make it a point to go out to Nashville for this tournament every year is because they have a Make-A-Wish kid who plays with them in their organization. And they wanted this child. I could be paraphrasing this story a little bit, but this person who was sick had a wish to have a roller hockey arena in his town, and so they built the roller hockey rink that's in Kyle, Texas, and that's why the La Beta Chupacabra started up. They run the rink there. It's named after him. And that's why they make it a point to go out to the Wish Cup every year. So just a really good cause, and I'm so looking forward to it. Maybe we'll have one of the Lebeda Chupacabra on the show sometime to give us the whole story with all those details. So
I think we should have you on assignment and do some interviews down there from the Wish Cup, man. That would be awesome.
That'd be fantastic.
Doing some kids, get some B-roll of what's going on there. That would be awesome. Well, I'm wearing my Tampa Bay Rolling Thunder jersey. I don't know if you can see the whole thing there, but a lot of guys from Southern California played in that. That was in the MLRH, and I was the assistant general manager there in Tampa Bay, along with Chip Ryder, who was the manager there. We had a lot of fun in that league. And, well, we're going to wrap up this segment right now, and so we can get in a break. Before we come back, PBH documentary producer Jake Cimperman is on deck, and this is Hockey Night Insider, brought to you by The Answer is Yes.
Guys, we have a saying, okay? How you do anything is how you do everything. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that before. How you do anything is how you do everything. As often or as many times or as many chances you have to put your kid around quality people, you have to take advantage of them. I'm a father of 3. My kids are all adults at this point in life. And the influence that Peter had over my son is something that to this day we can go back, channel, and talk about. And any time in life when you have a chance to be around a person that has these absolutes, the way he lives his life, there are few people that are the genuine article. I am telling you with everything in my heart and soul, if you can have your children around people like Peter and his staff, they're going to be better humans. And yes, we want them to be better hockey players. And yes, we want them to be more successful in the classroom and all that. But I'm telling you, the thing that is not sold, he doesn't put on his flyers is, hey, be a better person. Get around Peter, be around the farm tough culture, and you're going to be thrilled with what happens with your child.
Welcome back to Hockey Night Insider, brought to you by The Answer is Yes. Along with Parker Kalmen, I'm Lew Stowers. And Parker, we have a very special guest with us right now, Jake Cimperman. And Jake, good to have you with us tonight.
Thank you, gentlemen. Always a pleasure.
Jake, pleasure to meet you. I've been hearing so much about this documentary for the past few weeks. Our producer Steven and I have been talking about it. Lew and I have been talking about it. And could you tell us a little about, obviously, Hockey Night Insider, we are fans of all different types of hockey, from ball hockey, street hockey, roller hockey, ice hockey. So any type of documentary that highlights roller hockey especially hits home to my heart as well. Could you tell us a little bit about this documentary that you've been working on?
Yeah, so it all started really, it was a project sort of born out of the pandemic when I had a lot more time to develop ideas. Back in the late 90s, I was living in California with my parents. I was about 8 years old, and my father took me to a professional roller hockey game on the beach. And fast forward 25 years, I was working as a producer and director for Major League Baseball, but I wanted to explore this story, and I started doing so in the pandemic and reaching out, calling people, trying to connect the dots and figure out what was this league all about? Where did it come from? And why did it have such a big impact on me?
How did this come about? I mean, roller hockey was more, say, later in my generation, in the 90s with beach hockey, late 80s, early 90s with beach hockey, because, well, there was a trash can and there was starting to do roller hockey with the plastic boots and the rainbow colors. And hey, let me get a stick out of there. Got a tennis ball here. And let's try not to trip over the gravel. And now all of a sudden that spawned Dennis Murphy and Larry King's idea. They were watching these kids play, these guys play in the Santa Monica Pier parking lot, and boom, Roller Hockey International was born. And so how did a kid like you, growing up in the frozen tundra of Buffalo, New York, who had a team, I believe, an RHI team, and then they had the New Jersey team as well, and the Philadelphia team. How did you get interested in roller hockey or anything but ice hockey? Well, you also obviously had the Sabres.
Yeah. So, I mean, I actually lived in Los Angeles as a child from 95 to 99. So I was playing roller hockey out here, and I was very much involved in the beach hockey community as a kid. And, my dad played down at the beach. And, but when I moved to Buffalo, like, you're right, like the roller hockey it took a huge backseat, and I just focused on playing ice hockey, and the Sabres were really good. So this was way in the back of my mind, but I still had some very fuzzy memories of watching, guys on ramps in Huntington Beach, and I really wanted to explore that, and I couldn't figure out why there wasn't a documentary about it. And the deeper I got into this, I just decided, okay, I think I'm the one that needs to do this.
Not giving us too much information on kind of the stories that got you interested in wanting to make this documentary. Could you give us a little info on what really grabbed you with the idea of making this documentary?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, for me, I was really fascinated with some of the, let's call it, the showmanship and some of the alternate elements of this league, the live music, the cheerleaders, the ramps. I just thought, well, this is a really fascinating way to market hockey. And I thought it was one of the only time in the history of hockey where it was being marketed to a completely new and different generation of fans. So I really appreciated the marketing efforts that the league had, and the way they tried to captivate an audience that, was a little edgy and broke some rules, but really left an impact. And that's what was interesting to me, was some of these elements that off the court,
Now, was there any surprises that you found out about all of this when you were making the documentary that completely threw you off? I'd love to hear about that.
I mean, the whole thing was one giant surprise, because what was so fascinating to me was the league pretty much disappeared in 2000. So there wasn't very much out there on the internet. I mean, I went on digging through newspapers and the Internet Archive. And so everything was the storyline was sort of getting formulated as the research and the interviews were taking place. So everything was new. And, I think, there are some really, I'm hoping, jaw-dropping moments. But for me, it's like they were, and David McLean, who's the man behind PBH, and a visionary guy, in my opinion. A lot of the things he was trying were impromptu, and he was doing things that even the players didn't know about, and that hadn't been done before. So this wasn't, a lot of these things, he was just flying by the seat of his pants. And it's fascinating because it was also on national television. So you got to see, a lot of these elements kind of take place impromptu, and that had an interesting effect on some more of the traditional hockey players and fans.
Now, are there any players that you're focusing on in this film?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Chris Nelson is a local roller hockey legend. I say that because he was raised in Los Angeles, grew up here. And he'll tell you more about this, but had a college hockey scholarship, and then came back to LA to play professionally. And I think he inspired a lot of kids to get on rollerblades, and he was pretty darn good at it. He was the first ever Pro Beach Hockey MVP. And he was sort of the face of roller hockey in the 90s, in my opinion. So he's one of the characters. I mean, there are so many outrageous people from this era. Mike Butters, who I know you guys had on, is a really key character for us. James Jensen, who played in RHI and PBH, the goalie, he's a great character. And then also some people on the outside, like Luc Robitaille and Pat Brisson, who are known obviously for their work in the NHL, but were really part of the roller hockey world.
How could you give, I am very new school. We just had a great conversation with Chris Nelson. It was fabulous talking with him. I love hearing kind of the history of all this stuff, but I'm very new school roller hockey, where it's basically just a bunch of men's, beer leagues and some tournaments that happen that are pretty popular. But it's nowhere near the amount of popularity that RHI was or Pro Beach Hockey was. Could you give me kind of your take about the transition of where hockey or roller hockey was, around the time the documentary takes place, and kind of how it transitioned to where it is today?
Yeah, and I'm sure Lew will have some thoughts on this as well, but there's a lot of factors. Number one, right off the bat, is that rollerblades in general were huge. Late 80s, early 90s, the company Rollerblade made a huge push, and, they were a part of pop culture at the time. It wasn't just sort of a gimmicky thing. I mean, there was, there was a Baywatch episode with rollerblades in it. There was there were all sorts of, pop culture rollerblading tie-ins, and it was really a fashionable thing to do. So that obviously helped, right? Well, you also had things like the X Games. You had companies like ESPN who were programming more alternative sports, and that allowed some of these things to grow. You also had a lot of sponsors and companies that were taking chances on the rollerblade industry. So all those factors, led to a lot of dollars being poured into the sport. And that's kind of what you saw throughout the 90s. And some of these some of these leagues may have grown a little too big too fast. I think that was probably, in my opinion, sort of what led RHI to fold. But you had companies like ESPN that were willing to take a risk, and sponsors that wanted to be involved, and that led to these leagues really flourishing and being at the forefront of kind of sports at the time.
Well, I know that producers, ESPN especially, they were looking for content at the time, and they had ESPN too, and they really needed to fill those slots. So RHI was there, and David McLean really took advantage of that with his contacts, and really made a go of it. And unfortunately, it was more of an East Coast sport on television than it was a West Coast sport, where, let's face it, you had the Blades, the Bullfrogs, the San Diego Barracudas, and the Oakland Skates, and the Vancouver Voodoo. And the Voodoo, the Blades, and the Bullfrogs were three of the top teams in the country. And it's too bad that we didn't get to see more of them on ESPN.
Yeah, I think it's a sport where it's a highly regional sport, right? And it's also tough when you have teams, trying to fill NHL arenas. That's not going to work in every market. And those are big buildings, and the rent needs to be paid. So I think there was a little bit of, aggressive growth and expansion early on that may have hindered the RHI in the long term.
Well, that was all part of Dennis Murphy's plan, was to play in the arenas where the NHL was playing. And his grand scheme almost came to fruition, where he wanted the NHL basically to buy in to roller hockey and make it a true summer league for their minor league players, and get them familiarized with the buildings they were playing in, and the teams. And so it almost worked. They were that close to becoming to merging with the NHL. So that part was fascinating. And getting, as a broadcaster, getting to broadcast those games in all of these arenas, especially some of the old buildings, like in Vancouver, at the old arena where they played at the fairgrounds, and getting to broadcast a game from a true catwalk where you're actually looking over and seeing the players underneath you. That to me was a treat. So Tell us a little bit more about the screening of the film. Where's it going to be? Do you know where it's going to be? How can people get to see it, if that, or how's it going to be distributed?
Yeah, so right now we're planning on doing a screening in June in Huntington Beach, and this is mostly for people that worked on the film, people that are involved in the hockey community, some film industry folks, and this is really just sort of a celebration of this thing finally being done after 4 years, and so that's going to be in Huntington Beach, and then from there, our goal is to we're having these discussions now, but to bring this to a partner and a streaming service that really wants to support this and market it and bring it to a wider audience so that, we can ultimately kind of grow roller hockey. And I think we're going to find a partner hopefully this year so that it has a wider release.
Well, Jake, I can't wait to see this whole plan. Hopefully it's on a streaming service here upcoming soon. And it's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you. Look forward to seeing all these crazy stories that I've been hearing. Chris talking about it. It's just getting me excited more and more for this documentary to come out. So thank you so much for coming on with us today.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to kind of bringing this film out to the roller hockey community. I mean, it's 25 years since we've had professional roller hockey, and I think this will be a nice way to hopefully kickstart a next generation of roller hockey players.
All right, Jake Cimperman, the executive producer, director, and probably cameraman and gaffer for the upcoming documentary. What's the name of this mystery documentary?
Yeah, it's not so much mystery, but it is Pro Beach Hockey, Sun, Surf, and Slap Shots. So
okay, there you go. And we're going to be seeing this real soon, hopefully on a streaming and a device near you. Thanks a lot, Jake.
And Jake, where can we find you before we go? How can we support you?
Yeah, so if you're interested in keeping up with the news and updates, we do have a newsletter. You can go to probeachhockey.net to sign up for that. We have one of those Instagram accounts too, and it's basically just posting old archival photos and some highlights. So if you're into that, it's at Pro Beach Hockey. And we really appreciate all the support. And roller hockey is such a close-knit community, so it's been great to be involved with everyone.
All right, thanks again, Jake, and we'll talk to you soon. I guess I'm going to have to give a couple of whacks to my old dial-up modem here and get on there. So thanks a lot. We'll see you soon. And this is Jake Cimperman, and along with Parker Kalmen, I'm Lew Stowers. We'll be back right after this on the Hockey Night Insider, and we're brought to you by The Answer's Yes.
It happens in a flash.
A hush.
The crack of thunder.
Practice paid off.
Preparation made good.
When everything we work to build
takes flight. In that moment,
time stops.
Through clouds of doubt,
We emerge.
Our highest
And best selves.
together, we climb.
Every day,
together,
we reach from within.
For a higher calling,
Together,
we soar.
this is our purpose.
Our season,
Our time.
we are Lopes. Rising.
We are back on Hockey Night Insider along with Parker Kalmen. I'm Lew Stowers, and boy, what a show it's been so far. And if there was RHI or Roller Hockey Hall of Fame, you would have to include this guy because he was the best of the best and invented and developed how to be a goalie on inline roller skates. And Rob Laurie's with us the Anaheim Bullfrogs. He only played for the Anaheim Bullfrogs, and what a pleasure it was to watch and call his games for all those years in Anaheim at the Pond. Well, gosh, from Orlando to Vancouver. That was quite a fun day, quite a fun period, Rob.
Yeah, it was a great period of my life. I mean, I no matter where I was playing ice hockey, I always had the excitement of going back to Anaheim for another year of roller, and we had a lot of the core guys that played for. And it was great because we'd have a lot of good guys coming in and out of different seasons. It was always a little bit different, but it's so exciting to play at the Pond and in the crowd, and it was just something that I'll always remember.
Well, Rob, it's a pleasure to have a fellow goaltender here on the show with us. Looking at your history with the Bullfrogs, and also you played some pro beach hockey. I'd love to hear about your days playing pro beach hockey, as well as about this documentary that's coming out soon.
Yeah, the pro beach hockey, when I first heard about it from one of my friends who was kind of, he actually played RHI for Vancouver, and he was coming down, and it was, I think everything was filmed pre-RHI season. We really didn't know what to expect, and it turned out to be really fun. And short games. It was warm out, but the games were short and very, very competitive. That's the one thing I took from it. It was guys at the end really wanted to take home the cup, and to the point where it was full contact, and things would get heated out there, and that's what made it exciting. And to start to relive that with the movie coming out, reliving those days is going to be something else. I mean, I guess the one way I'd sum it up is I had a couple of friends from Michigan come visit me, and we were driving from the hotel to the beach and Huntington Beach, and they're like, "Yeah, Rob's driving to work right now. This is his job." I mean, it was something else.
I bet it was. And a lot of the guys transitioned from beach hockey to the RHI, but that was a lot of fun. I mean, gosh, it was like an event. You had bands there. You had obviously the girls. They wanted to see what the heck was going on, and you wanted to see the girls, and I'm sure that was a distraction there. And you were in both kind of incarnations there, with the flat surface, and then later on where they had the banked
that's right,
rinks behind you.
Yeah, the bank was something interesting, and it wasn't just for skating. I mean, the players got a chance to really learn how to utilize it to the fact of where they were even throwing the ball. We used a ball to throw it up against the ramp, and it would come back and drop right in front of the net. So as a goalie, I always had to be aware of that one. We also had the 2-point goal with the kind of like a 3-point shot at basketball, which I found I actually kind of liked that as a challenge. And I just the way we played the puck, there was the whistles. We just played the game. There wasn't a lot of whistles. The goalie make a save, and we got to just play it up to a player. Yeah, it was different, but it was really awesome, and it was an event, like you said. It definitely was. And you played 2 or 3 games in a day, so that's another difference between RHI is you come and just play your game, and then it was got to watch kind of as it played out across the summer as they played the games on ESPN2.
Now, playing in both the different leagues, obviously there's some big differences. Playing with the Bullfrogs, playing on the beach. What'd you prefer more? Did you feel like one was maybe a little bit more competitive? Did you feel like you had more fun playing pro beach hockey? What was your kind of preference when it came to you being a goaltender out there?
I think I'd have to give the nod to the RHI, just because, especially our home games are at the some of our top rivals, where the LA Blades and playing in the Forum and playing up in San Jose. The Rhinos always had a good team. They always got a good crowd. I think, having that crowd all the way around you and just kind of it's what I was accustomed to coming from ice hockey, where you just plan your whole day but that's not to take anything away from the Pro Beach hockey, because I think that actually got more notoriety for the short time it was on, to the point where I'd bump into guys that were friends of friends that were in the NHL, and they would literally say, "Well, you played roller hockey? Did you play in that Pro Beach hockey? I watched that," Or, "Hey, I saw you were on the team that won it." I ran into a goalie that I knew from the minor leagues that had made it to the NHL, and I bumped into him pre-season at a Red Wings game, and he's like, "Hey, congratulations on winning Pro Beach hockey." So I thought it was kind of interesting, kind of funny that you've got guys that are at the highest level of hockey, and they found themselves watching it on TV.
Pro Beach hockey would kind of translate to today's young guys. I mean, now that the pandemic's over, we've been through ups and downs in the economy, and Huntington Beach is always looking for something to do, something to put on. So it seems like you could have a tournament style event there. And also, Parker was talking about which was better, playing the RHI or Pro Beach. Seems like some of those memories and tempers of a cheap shot here and there might last a little, or might have shrunk because of the games being back to back like that. So I think it would be a lot of fun to try to see if another Pro Beach Hockey League could make it.
I think so. I always thought that. I mean, I know the ratings were always good on TV, and it was fun. I know the players would be lining up to play it. If they, there is a lot more experienced roller hockey players now, I think, than there was then. And we kind of took guys from the RHI for the most part and populated those Pro Beach teams. I think that now you have a bigger selection, and that could kind of give it its own little twist. And I think the other part of it, you had Mike Butters. I know he was on an episode. He was an announcer one year, and Marty McSorley announced for a year. And they really, I think part of the excitement was just the production of it was well done. And, you're turning that, when you're flipping through the channels and you see guys playing hockey on the beach, I mean, you're going to, anybody that likes hockey is going to stop and start watching it. So there's that instant attraction. So I wouldn't be surprised if that made its way back, and it would be successable.
Well, it's really interesting when you were talking about the 2-point line. I didn't know that was a thing, and I would just be curious to ask you. Obviously there's some things that are a little niche with Pro Beach hockey, with the ramp that goes behind the net, the 2 points. Do you think there's anything? Do you have any ideas of maybe some things that they could do in the modern day if they were to bring back Pro Beach hockey to make it a little bit more interesting for today's times?
I guess I haven't really thought of it. I think there was if they could get the floor, like the one year the floor was a little bit dicey, I think, because they tried to paint the floor or did something and it was slippery. But I think, the ramps, I'm not sure are needed. I think just having it on I think I'd probably gas the ramps if I was going to do it all over again, or if they were going to redo it. But I think they had the rules pretty good. I even like the equipment where the players, you could kind of see the elbow pads. They all had the colored and the shin pads, and it's like you're wearing shorts and the shin pads matched your team. That was even a great idea. So I don't think there's too much I would change. I think just kind of do it the way they did it. And, I don't like, maybe like I said, the ramps. Other than that, there was so many nuances to the game that was different. Maybe throw in a little bit more of a 3-on-3. I don't know if the ball also, we we maybe go to a puck. That was the only difference. The ball made the 2-point line interesting because it would curve, and that's usually when the goalie gave up one from out there. It's usually because the guy shot it, and it literally was like a 80-mile-an-hour curveball. So that was interesting, but I think I prefer just sticking with the puck. But other than that, it was a great time.
Now, how would they pick the teams? Because there weren't any cities involved in it. So how did they pick the teams?
That couldn't tell you, to be honest. And it's been so long. I just remember getting the call and saying, "Hey, you are on this team, and are you interested in playing?" And I think one of the seasons, I played two of the 3 seasons. I think the second season I didn't start the season because the commitments with the U.S. national inline team, and we were at a tournament and just had gotten back. So the good news was I was ready to jump in and start playing at the highest level because we were playing we had just gotten back from a tournament. I don't know how they picked the teams, but they did their best to make them competitive. I know some guys moved around over the course of different seasons, and but yeah, I mean, it didn't really matter. Even the talent level, I think, we weren't at NHL caliber players, really any of us by that standard. But what I think it made it entertaining, I enjoyed in between games just going up and watching the other games, especially when it got down to close to the end of the season, so to speak, and 2 of the teams were going to be eliminated from the playoffs. Those teams really fought it out hard just to get into the playoffs. So you knew guys wanted a chance to. The prize money went up the farther you went, et cetera, et cetera.
That's great. Now we talked a little bit earlier about some of your e-bug experience in the NHL. Can you share with us a little bit of your e-bug experience and the process of what it means to be an e-bug? For those that don't know what an e-bug is, that are listening, it is encased. I'm blanking here.
An emergency.
No,
goalie.
I can
emergency backup goalie. There you go. E-bug.
Emergency backup goalie. The old e-bug. So I didn't really know this was a thing. It kind of eventually became kind of a standard rule, but at the time I was in Orange County, and I had participated in some of the Anaheim Ducks practices, and just when somebody wasn't going to be out there, they just want to have 2 goalies for whatever reason. If they were in the middle of someone wasn't feeling good or needed a day off, etc. That kind of parlayed itself into I had an opportunity with Anaheim Ducks when one of the goalies wasn't feeling well. They literally called me the day of the game and said, "This guy's not going to be able to dress tonight." And it's like a couple hours. It's maybe 5 hours before game time. So they're allowed to sign somebody on that emergency basis to, I don't know what they call it, a PTO, some kind of player tryout agreement or something. And so I had the opportunity to go for the Ducks. Now the first time I did it, Anaheim, their farm team was on the East Coast at the time. So that was the biggest problem, is they couldn't get their goalie from their farm team to Anaheim quick enough. They did tell me they planned on him coming. So it's like, "Hey, Rob, he probably is going to get here, but I don't want to bank on it. So we're going to have you dress, and he'll probably get here sometime during the game," which is exactly what happened. So, I got to, in my old RHI Anaheim Bullfrogs arena, I got to go and dress right in the locker room with the Ducks and go out for warm up. And I think I lasted about 5 minutes on the bench before the other goalie arrived and got his gear on. So that was kind of the end of my night, but that's all I really needed. I really felt like I had the experience, and it was just awesome, and was treated great by the team. They let me keep my jersey. It was just something that I figured I'd never forget. And to have the opportunity through the Ducks, where a couple of teams coming to play them, or actually one team was coming to play Los Angeles, the Minnesota Wild. They just same thing. They got my number, knew that I'd done it before, knew I guess somebody thought I was capable of at least sitting on the bench. So I was able to do it again. I mean, they called, and I just never knew if it's kind of exciting. You don't know if you're going to get tossed in the game or not. I mean, you probably think it's not going to happen, but you're there for a reason. So the greatest part about it was just being in the locker room during. It's hard to explain. Just for a guy that I love watching hockey, was watching a lot of hockey at the time, NHL hockey, and to be able to just be in the middle of it and be in the locker room was almost mind-boggling. It was almost surreal. So you're thinking, man, I was just yesterday I was just on the couch watching the game, and here I am sitting in the middle of the locker room. It doesn't really make any sense, but that's what happened. So luckily, I always thought, hey, I hope someone else gets an opportunity to do this. Some other goalies out there, they've kind of made it a rule now that every NHL game there's someone available to be an e-bug for either team, and guys they've got really two chances to get into the game, at least get on the bench and get some warm-ups in, and you never know if two guys end up getting hurt in the same night. A couple guys have found themselves getting into a game, so they've done a great job and represented. It's kind of a nice little club that we have going on with the past e-bugs.
Well, I think you did it with Vancouver also, right? You were emergency backup for the Canucks for a game?
I did it with Vancouver, and I think a couple things I remember about that one is that one about halfway through the game, the goalie, which was Eddie Lack, he kind of got ran, and the net came off. He was laying sprawled out, looking up at the lights on his back, and I'm thinking, oh, is this really happening? Like I'm going in like this is about, if it's going to happen, this is going to happen. And he eventually got up, had a laugh with them. But the other thing was they had John Tortorella was the coach. And as anybody who's followed his career knows that he's kind of a character. And so that was kind of exciting for me to meet him in person. And then as we were waiting, Lew, you would know our locker room that we were using Vancouver was using the locker room that we used when we were on the Bullfrog, that I was standing right by the door that goes out to the ice. And so the rest of the team was, and I'm just waiting for the guys to go. And here comes the coaching staff, getting ready to step onto the ice. And I'd already met Torts earlier in the night, but as he's walking up, he looks me right in the eye, nobody else, and he goes, "Don't F this up."
It doesn't make sense. Jeez.
That's good advice.
And then I see that one of the Canucks players laughing next to me, and he's like, "I'm like, did he just say what I think he said?" And he said, "Yeah, don't worry about that." He says that to everybody. So I think that was his good thing. He hadn't said it to me yet, so he felt like he had to get that in before the game.
Fantastic.
See, you can't sell yourself short, Robbie, because you played for three NHL teams, so you're NHL caliber too, and you're number one in my book, that's for sure. And Parker, there's nobody else you'd ever want to sit down and have a sandwich and an iced tea with than Rob Laurie. He's one of the best guys out there, and then they still tell the stories of Rob in Newport Beach looking for his brand new Mustang, but we'll get to that another time. Well, thanks a lot, Rob Laurie, for joining us, and it's been a pleasure. Way too short. We're going to have to do this again sometime, and now I just can't wait for that documentary to come out and see the premiere.
Yeah, I
All
agree.
Right,
I agree. I appreciate you guys having me on. It was nice to meet you, Parker. We'll hopefully we can talk soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Enjoy those ribs.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Rob Laurie's been our guest here on Hockey Night Insider, and we will be back after this. Welcome back to Hockey Night Insider, brought to you by The Answer is Yes. And yes, we do have a star of stage and screen and rinks everywhere around town, along with Parker Kalmen. I'm Lew Stowers, and we're co-hosting tonight, and so happy to have with us Chris Nelson. And Parker, you should have seen this guy on the rink at the Los Angeles Forum, the Inglewood Forum, the Great Western Forum. And he would just fly around, and he was something else to watch there. And pirouetting around on those four wheels and each skate there. And man, I just being the broadcaster of the Anaheim Bullfrogs, you were one of my favorite players to watch there.
Thank you very much. It's a couple of years ago that we did that, but it was a great experience.
Yeah, it sure was. It sure was. Just want to thank Stephen Reyes for asking me to co-host these shows here, because it just bringing back so many great memories, and we've been talking about that before we started this segment. And it truly was a gift to be part of Roller Hockey International, and its inception, really. We were talking about that too, going from the beaches of the Santa Monica Pier, the parking lots, to all of the storied arenas around the country and in the U.S. and Canada. And that was really something.
Yeah, it's crazy to look back on all the stuff that we did. We were innovators back then with roller hockey, and we really didn't know what we were getting ourselves into at first. Because I remember when I received my first set of chassis from Brett Kurtz, who's a teammate of mine in Wisconsin. And he sent me these chassis with no wheels and goes, put these on your skates. I was like, what am I supposed to do with these things? I don't know. And he said, no, well, send me some wheels. And I put the chassis and I got them on, put them on my skates, and I got the wheels. I was zipping around the University of Wisconsin campus, and I got pulled over by the cops. The cops are like, what are you doing? I go, I'm training. I'm training for what? I'm training for roller hockey. What's roller hockey? Well, we're doing this whole thing called RHI International. We have a team in Los Angeles called the Blades. They're like, we don't know what that is. I go, trust me, when it comes on TV, you'll know exactly what it is. So literally no one knew what roller hockey was. They knew the action of it with, the old rollerblades that were plastic boots. But, we're talking with the RHI, we were considered the next NHL per se. So we got the best equipment, the best tracks, the best wheels. And people really looked at us like they didn't know what it was. They'd never seen anyone skate at that level. That wasn't just recreational. We were actually using it for training for roller hockey, to get ready for ice hockey, but to keep us in great shape. That's what we did with the sport.
Man, I can just see you skating around Madison, Wisconsin, and the stadium there, like the football stadium there. I could just see you going around there, the donut shop, the ice cream shop down there in downtown. So, probably going in and out of the Capitol building. Yeah.
No, I think it was I was always hanging out by the lake shore. We had like a little dining area out there that keep my rollerblades, kind of be the cool kid out there and skate down there, have a couple of Pepsis, we called it back then, to kind of get ready. It was like, I think in those years I was using it as training, getting ready for summer roller hockey. But also I was in New Jersey's system, so it was a great way to prepare myself for the NHL.
Yeah, and it really just blew up an industry, not only with the league, but also the industry, the equipment industry as well. But you, I mean, look at that face. You're in Los Angeles. You're in Hollywood. It's like Genie Bus. We got to get this guy ready for his close-up. So you were in commercials and shows. I believe I remember seeing you on Baywatch, right?
Yes. So it's I've been doing commercials for years and years and years. I've been in the industry, God, almost 40 years now, I think. I think the first production I ever worked on was Youngblood with Rob Lowe. And it's funny, I got pitched, I'm doing the remake of Youngblood as well. So we'll be filming that, I think, September, October, November, December. So there's a remake of that one coming out, so keep posted for that. But Baywatch was ironic because I got scouted playing roller hockey at the beach, and someone came up to me and said, hey, we're doing a TV show. Would you want to be part of this production? I said, sure, I'd love to. What I need to do? They're, well, come down here. We'll send you all the information, and here's a date, and this would be this address. Okay, great. They called me and said, your call time is going to be at 7:30 in the morning. Come on down to Santa Monica Beach. We'll have someone that will meet you there. We'll get you a trailer, get your wardrobe, get you all set up. I drove my car down there, parked my car with my trailer, had a little nap because 7:30 in the morning is a little early for me back then. And at 8 o'clock, someone knocked on my door and said, Mr. Nelson, we need you on set. I opened the door, and there was 50 of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. And that was Baywatch. And at that moment, I go, this is what I want to do. But that was it. That's all it took.
So after your playing days were over with Chris Nelson joining us, roller hockey, ice hockey, and now actor, how was the transition from hockey to Hollywood?
It came pretty easy for me because I was always someone who pushed the boundaries of what was, quote, acceptable, I guess, in the hockey world. Hockey is a very stoic sport. You show up, you've got your suit on, your tie. It's a team sport. You play the best you can. It's a team win. And, you win together, you lose together. That's the same philosophy I had, but I also knew that I was able to push it a little bit more. And my transition from roller hockey into the film industry was interesting because at that point in time, my coach in the RHI was a guy by the name of Mark Hardy, who was also assistant coach of the Kings. And I'd showed up late once to practice, and Harpo said, well, you're late. What's going on? I said, well, I had an audition. There was an audition. What do you mean you had an audition? Well, I had an audition for a movie that I really want to do. He goes, well, we're here. We got a game to play. I go, yeah, I get that, but I really want to work in this industry. He's like, well, don't do that again. I said, sure, Harpo, no problem at all. I apologize. Cut to, we were playing the Anaheim Bullfrogs in playoffs. Unfortunately, we lost that playoff game. And on the next day, I was on set filming a movie. And that movie is called Batman and Robin. So that was my big transition to go from roller hockey into the film industry because Batman and Robin had a huge roller hockey scene. And I hired about 10 of the RHI guys on the Blades to be in that movie with me. And we still get residuals to this day. So that was my big move to make the transition from roller hockey to film industry. It was synonymous. It was roller hockey, then I played the beach, played the RHI, and then went right into Batman and Robin with George Clooney, Arnold Schwarzenegger, then these big, huge roller hockey sequences.
Chris, it's great having you on the show. I distinctly remember that Batman and Robin scene, and it's going to be pretty cool. After this, I'm going to go on YouTube and check that out just to get a good reminder. Maybe I'll see you in some of the old Blades there. Now, talking about roller hockey. Yeah, go ahead.
We had, I think it was Stefan Desjardins was in that. Steve Bogavis was in that. Eric Reyes was in that. Just some great names that we all remember from the roller hockey days.
That's an awesome little fun fact. Who is some of the old LA Blades? What movie were they in? Yep. Batman and Robin. So really awesome hearing just about roller hockey history. I kind of come from the new age of roller hockey here. And I kind of want to hear your perspective of kind of the downfall of roller hockey and kind of what happened, after the LA Blades transitioned and the Bullfrogs kind of dwindled away. What was kind of that transition? What did that look like to you from an outside, someone who's on the inside perspective, telling it to someone who's more on the outside perspective?
Well, from my perspective, I was never really in the business part of it, but from what I understood in stories that I heard is that with the Bullfrogs and the Blades, we were the top two, bar down, in the industry of roller hockey. But some of the other markets weren't as strong. I remember hearing stories of guys that played in Atlanta. The first game they played, I think they played at the Omni Center. They had 12 fans, not 13, not 11, they had 12 fans, and that probably includes the girlfriends of the players. So it wasn't really heavily promoted out there. And I don't think they really had the infrastructure that we had out here on the West Coast. I mean, yes, kids were playing roller hockey in their garages and driveways, but we had Huntington Beach had roller hockey out there. At the pier in Santa Monica, we had it in the parking lot. And a lot of people would come down and just stop and watch us. We became a tourist attraction. So with that built up fan base. I'm not saying it was really easy to sell tickets, but beach hockey, roller hockey kind of worked really well in Southern California, whereas some of the other markets I don't think it was as strong. And I still think the league can maintain can continue to go on without the financial backing. And I know that the Bullfrogs and Blades couldn't financially take care of all the other 26 other teams there were. So I think that was kind of the downfall of it. And also, roller hockey was kind of a novelty. But what's old is what's new again. And we're talking back in 1996, 97, 98. Originally, roller hockey was in there for a couple of years. What's old is new again, and roller hockey is making a resurgence to come back again. So some of us old guys are looking forward to seeing how that turns out. We're all actively participating in bringing roller hockey and pro beach hockey back.
I just want to hear real quick, what do you see being done today to bring roller hockey back to its heyday?
Well, right now with Jake Cimperman, he's spearheading bringing pro beach hockey back, and he was very influential with that, and his dad was as well. And so I think that's going to be the first thing, is getting pro beach hockey. And once you get pro beach hockey back and you get that on the networks, whether it's ESPN or I was watching the Rangers game on HBO so hockey is kind of all over the map now with being on TV. And once we get that back up and running, I think there'll be a huge resurgence with roller hockey. Not just in California, not just in America, but worldwide. I still talk to a lot of fans that watch me play in some of these overseas tournaments. We had I think it was USA versus the World Cup. We played in Portugal, we played in France, we were in Nuremberg, Germany, and with the IHF and stuff. So there's a lot of fans that are still out there that watch the sport. So if pro beach hockey gets up and running, you'll see a big, a large number of kids coming back and playing that sport. Ice hockey, as I'm seeing right now with some of the AAA programs, it's costing parents upwards of $25,000 a season to play, and that doesn't include if they're going to public school. Roller hockey is a financially more viable sport of the game, and we've seen a lot of players that start out with roller hockey that did make it to the NHL.
Now, Chris, so you were talking about Jake and the documentary. What about the documentary? You worked real closely on that. Tell us a little bit about that.
The documentary, we're doing a screen for it next couple of months, I think, in Huntington Beach. But Jake had reached out to me and said, "Hey, I want to, do a little interview on you, talk about your roller hockey days, talk about the RHI, but more importantly, we'll talk to you about pro beach hockey." And that was about 2.5 years ago. And I've seen some clips of it, but I've finally seen a version that's about 95% done, and it's good. It brought back a lot of memories. It brought back the history of roller hockey. It talks a lot about Luc Robitaille. Luc Robitaille and I were very close with, doing roller hockey out here in Los Angeles. There's a lot of history, a lot of great memories, and then the stories that come out are pretty crazy. There's, some of the guys are married, so they can't tell those stories like what went on back then. But there's some crazy stuff that went on that you'll see in the doc.
Yeah, those were some wild times, some great times, that's for sure. You can make a whole other movie about that.
Yeah, when you take the Clippers cheerleaders, and so that's our dance team, and you put all these guys that are full of testosterone in single room hotels that's right on the beach with open bar tabs through all the restaurants and bars in Huntington Beach. You don't have to be that bright of a person to kind of figure out what went on.
That's right. Yeah. And I think they're still flying flags at half staff because all you guys are gone still. A lot of bars shut down after you guys left.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that went on that I'll just keep that right here.
There you go.
We'll see some of it in the documentary.
Yeah, you'll see some of the doc. I know there's some stuff that Jake's still making some edits on, and I think some of those stories are going to be dropped in. So I know I'm pretty clean, but some of the other guys.
Yeah, you were
stories.
Your name was kept out of the rumor mill, that's for sure. But
yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing there. There's no skeletons.
Yeah, your nose is growing right now too. But it would be fun to see that come back, and with the new generation, and get Parker some work out there too. You know, we got to find him a job. So, heck, me too. I need.
You can call me. I'll be Reg Dunlap. I'll be player, coach, captain. That's all you got.
There you go.
I'll be out there for it.
Love. That's right. Now, what did you think about the end zones of the rinks? You know, with the banked.
I loved it.
Ramps.
You did?
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, it added a fun little element. I mean, obviously, ramp it up. You know, that phrase was as memorable as "show me the money." But I loved it. The stuff that we could do with the balls was interesting because I came up with this idea that if you go behind the net or if you shoot the ball wide, it runs up the ramp, hits the roof, and drops up right from the goaltender. So what you're seeing with these kids with the Michigan and all the stuff that Zegras is doing, I didn't have the skill set. With a ball, I could kind of lift it up, obviously, but you couldn't really cup it like you could with a puck. But I came up with an idea that if you shoot it, just short side, it's going to go up the ramp, come and drop back down. The goalie doesn't know where it's coming from. So that was one of the best parts about it. A fun fact that people didn't know about is that there was a no contact rule with behind the ramp that came into play, I think, halfway through the season. So in the first season, they did have contact. So imagine guys going 20 miles an hour, kind of flying up through the air, hitting the ramp and having full contact back there. It got kind of dangerous. So they kind of took that out the second half. But that ramp was a great part of the sport.
Well, we can go on and on, right, Parker? But time is short. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Chris. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Parker.
Hey.
No, it's just been a pleasure. I love hearing about just the history. I'm not too keen on the upbringings of roller hockey. I just kind of have an idea of what it's like today. I have one last question for you. Chris, there's I'm sure you've heard of Narch. What kind of is one of the biggest scenes in roller hockey with the pro scene? Mm-hmm. Would you be ever interested in playing some roller hockey again at one of these Narch tournaments?
Anything from my boy Darren Goodwin. Yes, I'd love to. I'm doing a lot of filming right now. I mean, I've got 3 movies in post. I've got 2 in pre-production, and I have a pitch deck that's going to go. And so my weekends are pretty tied up. But I mean, if the Narch tournament comes up, I couldn't miss that. I mean, it brings back the glory days. I just have to dust off my wheels and my chassis and kind of get out there. But I'm ready to play. I'm down for it 100%.
Awesome.
Can't wait to see you out there. Yeah, we got to get you on here again on Hockey Night Insider. They're just 15 minutes is just a drop in the bucket, man. But thanks for coming out.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Sure. When is the documentary going to drop?
I don't know. I know the screening, I think, is going to happen in the next month. So we're in April now. So I think May. I think Jake might have a clear point on that one. We don't know what platform it's going to jump on. Is it going to be ESPN? Is it going to be Amazon? Is it going to be Netflix? We don't know yet. But it will be out there. People will get a chance to see it. And it's something you definitely don't want to miss.
Absolutely. I live here in Huntington Beach, so I'll be there for sure. All right, buddy. I just need an invite. Just need an invite to that screen.
You're invited. You are definitely invited. And from what I recall, you were the assistant general manager. So if hockey goes back, there's a spot for you right there. There it is.
There you go.
Right there, the Rolling Thunder.
Yeah, I was there. I was their hatchet man. Let me tell you. All right, buddy. Thank you very much, Chris Nelson, joining us on Hockey Night Insider. And we will be back.
Thank you.
We'll be back after this. Well, back for our goodbyes here on Hockey Night Insider, brought to you by The Answer is Yes, along with Parker Kalmen. I'm Lew Stowers. And what a show, man. That was just a terrific show. Yeah, Nelly, Robbie, and Jake. And I can't wait for that documentary.
I as someone who's, sort of in the new school side of things of roller hockey, it is, I'm almost a little bit jealous of hearing all of these stories and how things were just so organized on the pro level with RHI and Pro Beach Hockey. So it's really great talking with them. But man, what was it like? You had the front row seat to all of this happening. What was it like back then?
It was definitely historic because, your Lebeda team, the Chupacabras, they wouldn't be around if it wasn't for roller hockey because of and a lot of the equipment that was developed because of roller hockey. The pucks, the wheels, mainly a sport court was for the rich and famous in Beverly Hills. They used it for their tennis courts and basketball courts outside and inside. And then everybody was looking at some owners and Dennis Murphy and Larry King, who created Roller Hockey International, found sport court because they were using the unfrozen concrete in the arenas. And there were a lot of injuries. And so that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to cut down on the injuries. And a quick story, Parker, they would use Coca-Cola syrup and water and mop the entire 200 feet by 80 feet of the surface there, the court surface, so that guys could have their wheels stick, and they were those hard plastic wheels back then, and that's when the wheels started turning, and Lebeda came out with some of their great products, and just watching Dennis Murphy and Larry King and hearing their stories, they were actually in Santa Monica, and they were talking about. I believe it was either World Team Tennis or one of their wacky ideas that they had. Dennis Murphy helped develop the AFL, the American Football League. He developed the American Basketball Association, with the red, white, and blue ball and Dr. J and all those guys. And then also the World Hockey Association. That was a Dennis Murphy brainchild. And World Team Tennis, which is still around today, Dr. Jerry Buss was one of his go-to guys, and they were like mad scientists together. And that's how Jeannie Buss learned sports management, was through her dad, and her dad would two-handed chest pass like the World Team Tennis, the volleyball, professional volleyball. That was Dennis Murphy brainchild, and Jeannie was one of the best owners in the league, and she was on board pretty much for everything. And just watching it develop, Larry King and Dennis Murphy were driving in Santa Monica. They went down to the parking lot there by the pier, which is not what it is today even, and they saw these guys skating around the parking lot with 250-gallon drum trash cans down, and here are these guys shooting this ball at it. It was a tennis ball or whatever kind of ball. So they went over and looked at it and said, "What the heck are you guys doing?" They said, "Oh, we're playing hockey. I mean, this is what we do." And so then the light bulbs went on.
Yep.
And that's when the professional roller hockey was born. One of the guys who claims that he developed rollerblades, Maury Silver, who owned the Anaheim Bullfrogs and had a big interest in the Arizona team, the Phoenix Cobras, I believe they were. And he claims that for his sons, he developed rollerblades because he was also in the tennis shoe manufacturing, sneaker manufacturing business. So he had them develop this thing called a rollerblade. So the story goes. I still have my doubts, but anyway, it was so fun watching this grow and develop into the game it was, and it's a shame that it didn't get past into the 2000s because they were playing in the NHL arenas, which seems like, why would you do that? Because it cost back then in the 90s $20,000 a game to play there, and a lot of us were wondering, well, say that the Honda Center was one of the places, or the pond back then. That's where the Bullfrogs played. But there was the Anaheim Convention Center, which was probably about $15,000 less a game they could have rented it out for, but they still wanted to play there in the big arenas. So the NHL would notice them, and they did. And they were this close to merging with the NHL. And because a lot of the minor league players, the Bullfrogs broke the rules. It was supposed to be local guys playing hockey, but they're going to get paid for it now. So those guys that played in the parking lot in Santa Monica would have been in the Los Angeles franchise.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Anaheim Bullfrogs, Chris McSorley, Marty McSorley's older brother, was the head coach of the Anaheim Bullfrogs. He was also the head coach, I believe, of the Johnstown Chiefs in West Virginia. So he brought in his ringers, in other words, his players from the Johnstown Chiefs. And of course, they were far and away beating the heck out of everybody. So then all the owners are saying, So they brought in minor league players, and it really stepped up the game of the RHI and got those players looked at it as a summer league, as did the NHL, because they were looking at it in the corner of their eye, saying, well, maybe this isn't such a bad idea after all. We can get our guys. As a matter of fact, there were guys that played in RHI that went on to the NHL. So there's, like Rob Laurie. He would have never been noticed had it not been for his stint with the Bullfrogs. Manon Rayon, I don't know if you remember that name, but that was one of the female goaltenders. There were two female goaltenders in the league at that time. And Manon was just this absolutely hot, very, very beautiful French-Canadian gal. And she played for different teams around, and the Sacramento River Rats is where I met her. And she was on the cover of some sports magazines promoting roller hockey. And then she became one of the first female goaltenders. I think she played in Atlanta's a team in Atlanta, maybe Birmingham. But she was the first female goaltender to play ice hockey, and it was because of professional roller hockey. So yeah, I miss it. I still miss it to this day. You heard Robbie and Chris; they miss it, and I'm sure that
hopefully
these guys
we can see it evolve. Back into maybe not what it was exactly, but evolve into something new and exciting, getting fans involved back in the game for the pro scene. So I would absolutely love to see that. So it's great hearing what you have to say. And hey, happy first show. Thanks for being with us, Lew. Congratulations. You got through your first show.
I know. There's not getting through my first show is getting through Stephen Reyes. That's what I got through. So sorry I went so long there, went off the rails with the RHI history lesson there.
It's great hearing about it.
Thanks. Well, you have a great time in Nashville. Bring back some pictures. Write if you get work, and have fun on the islands too.
Will do. Thank you.
All right. I'm Lew Stowers for Parker Kalmen, and this has been Hockey Night Insider, brought to you by The Answer's Yes.
It's over! Good afternoon and good night! The king is dead!